Good day. This is Professor Emeritus Stephen Adei. We are continuing our series on leadership for everyone, everywhere. How to so equip yourself that wherever you are, you will be a leader. We have already looked at the general principles of leadership. We have looked at leading oneself. We have looked at leadership within the family context. The next 5 to 7 weeks, once a week, I'll be looking at leading organizations. So our theme for the next sub-series is leading organizations. Much of the literature on leadership assumes leading organization. In fact, apart from biographies, scarcely do you come across books on self-leadership, which by God's grace I've written two. One is Living by Strategy. The other is Managing Yourself. Earlier, for younger people, my wife and I had written a book called 7 Keys to Abundant Living Without Regret. It was all about managing your life early in your life so that when you grow, you will not look back with regret. However, even though there are so many self-help books about personal managing oneself, time, money, oftentimes you don't have it as a systematic way of self-leadership, which we covered in the first session. What is even much missing had to do with leading at the family level. There are few books about how to be a male father, husband, leader. For those who may have access to it or go to Challenge Bookshop or order it from Focus from the Family, which is an American-based Christian family life, my book, Called to Lead, will help you in male leadership. I hazard one session or two on female or mother-wife leadership because, again, that has been underplayed because of the macho or male-dominated culture we have in most races. But it's so important for us to see motherhood and being a wife as an important leadership role which must be performed. And we also ended by looking at children learning to lead at home and leading at home. This is a 360 type of degree leadership. They can impact even their parents as they grow positively, and definitely if they have siblings, their influence can be even greater and at school. What the next series is going to do is to look specifically at leading organizations, be it a production center, a manufacturing company, services, school, institutions, institutional leadership, public service organizations, non-for-profit or NGOs. So it's so vital for the life of a community, of a people and a nation that their organizations are not only managed, in other words, kept within the status quo with some little incremental improvement, but that there are paradigm shifts for better because of improved leadership of organizations. I would like to spend some time looking at the overview of leading organizations or organizational leadership, what it entails, and looking at fundamental concepts of how to craft or define your mission as an organization, having a clear vision and strategies to execute it. It's so important that you get it right if you are to propel the organization you lead from just where it is to higher levels. In so doing, though this is not an academic lecture, it is important for us to look at organizational leadership styles, because studies show that different leadership styles have different impact, and that there are some, especially what Jim Collins and call level 5 leadership or transformational leadership, generally have been found to be much more impactful than other leadership styles. But interestingly, the current research shows that not one single leadership style is enough, and that depending upon the situation, there's a combination of leadership styles that deliver the best results, especially underlying them being authentic leadership, being a trustworthy leader of integrity, because in leading, you want others to trust you. So we will look at leadership styles, and if we have time, have some survey, both national, international, and local, about people who have shown that they are model organizational leaders. You cannot talk about organizational leadership without talking about culture and its transformation. Every institution over time builds culture, the way we do things, and that determines how things are done. If you happen to be starting a new organization, then in your leadership, you have greater leverage to shape the leadership culture and that of the organizational culture and organizational behavior. However, when you have an old established organization, civil service, old company, institution, then you will be confronted with the need of probably addressing the issue of cultural change and paradigm shifts from the existing one. And how do you achieve that one? And how do you combine the best of existing cultural and performance issues with the new ones you are introducing? At the bottom of leading an organization is decision making and problem solving. And we will look at that one because at the end of the day, as President Truman said, the buck stops with the leader. I was talking about an organization which I won't divulge on air about, and I told them that, if you are a leader and you take 1 hour to make a certain decision, which you should have made it almost immediately, and you have 500 employees waiting for your leadership decision to act, your 1 hour is equivalent to 500 hours. So decision making actually is one of the biggest responsibilities of organizational leaders. But that doesn't mean that you become a dictator. You have to mobilize other people to buy in, but at the end of the day, decision making and problem solving cannot be sidestepped by an organizational leader. And one of the things about an organization, once it grows from 1 man, 2 man, or 3 person organization, is that they work in teams. Normally you call it departments, units, whatever you call it, and at the top level you have an executive team. Therefore, whilst there may be one or two at the top providing overall executive leadership, you must build many team leaders so that they themselves work as efficient teams and yet have synergy with the other teams, because together we win. So we will look at what it takes to build efficient teams within the organization. Some of them we will find that depend upon the organization. Much of the literature talks about organizations where the leadership focused on the human resources more than the actual production output, and vice versa. I would say that you do not have the choice when you are leading a big organization. You must encourage your people, achieve momentum, and yet not lose sight of the fact that in the business you have a goal or products to deliver. We will take our time after these general ones to also focus on leading organizations in Ghana with its strengths, challenges, and peculiarities. Many of you have heard my quarter tank discussions that when you are leading an organization in Ghana, what other jurisdictions you will take it for granted that there will be power, the water will flow through the pipes and the rest. You can't take it for granted. Again, whilst we may have the same education, though sometimes our rote learning does not help much, yet every group of people have a certain cultural background that influences how they view work and therefore how you should lead them. For example, we have Abayajuma, God's work, government work, which means that, everything goes. Again, if you don't confront this culture, no matter how much you are paid or what you say, you will not achieve maximum results. So we'll be looking at specific Ghanaian cultural dimensions to organizational leadership. The good news is that many are leading successful organizations in our country, and we would celebrate a few of them in our discussions so that the tendency of thinking that almost everything is gloomy in our country, hopefully we can dent that for good. We have many who are now reaching the level of international organizations, from Ibrahim Mahama and his Jata and Planets group. We have the Zoom Lions, we have NS Chemists, we have many such people. And I think that it is high time that we celebrate those who are making it, have the universities research into their strengths and their weaknesses, and inform leadership studies in our own context. It is important, because if we don't do that, we cannot address our weaknesses. We have international companies being managed relatively well, like the MTN. We must learn their secrets and then how we can use it. Again, while other countries like China thrive on family businesses, in Ghana it's almost an anathema. It says, be very careful. In other words, if somebody is going to undo you, it is likely to come from your family. What a shame about our attitude. Therefore, it is time for us, and we will spend time to look at people like Ernest Ofori-Sapon of Special Ice Company, Kwame Despite, and Dean Osai Dade, and Aloysius Arthur, and the rest. It's a shame that we have not recorded the pioneers of Mrs. Oklu and the rest, but we can even go back and posthumously learn from them. I'm trusting that this series on leading organizations will be probably the highlight of our leadership discussions, and we will make sure that whether you are an SME or an MME, middle manufacturing establishment, or a large company, you'll be encouraged not only to listen, but get some few gems that will help you to lead your organizations better. It's so important because at the end of the day, the public sector, which by the way is very, very important, because though the public sector employs less than 1 million Ghanaians, because of their policy impact, they are great and they have greater effect. So, of course, their organizations and what we say, despite their peculiarities, will apply also to them. However, this country's future will lie in the hands of the non-governmental sector and our organizations being managed well. Since by our constitution, we have adopted a mixed economy. So meet me week after week as we look at managing organizations, including managing during turbulent times of volatility. I wish you the best, and I invite you to follow the series, Leading Organizations. Shalom, and may the Lord be with you. Please don't forget, every Saturday morning, you can meet me on ZFM 101.9. And if you miss that one, don't forget to check up on Emeritus Professor Stephen Adei on YouTube. Thank you.